Well, well, well. Look who's mimicking the monster they tried to bury alive. You made it. They didn't send you an invitation, did they? Nah. They watched you through tinted lenses. They whispered in corners while wearing your name like a warning label. But now they rehearse your moves in secret, like disciples mimicking the very deity they denied existed. Welcome to the reckoning. They didn't believe you when you said the air was poisoned. They laughed when you screamed that the walls were talking. They gaslit you, made you doubt your senses, mocked your instincts, turned your awakening into a punchline passed around at family dinners. She's dramatic. He's paranoid. They're not well. But you were never broken. You were becoming. You see, gaslighting isn't just a denial of truth. It's a surgical strike on reality. It's a warhead dropped in your psyche, so every time you speak up, your own voice sounds foreign, even to you. And they did it with such grace, didn't they? Smiles stitched onto faces, hands on your shoulder, eyes full of pretend concern. Oh, honey, are you sure that happened? Maybe you misunderstood. Don't be so sensitive. They fed you poison and made you say thank you. They dismantled your reality, one manipulated conversation at a time. But let's talk about now. Now they speak like you. Now they walk like you. Now they dress like you, market like you, post like you, and preach like you. Now they're echoing the same truths they once crucified you for. Same tone, same phrases, the very ideologies they weaponized against you. They rebranded them as their own personal enlightenment. You see, they never hated you. They hated the mirror you held up to their lies. They hated the rawness in your honesty, the electricity in your rebellion, the undeniable resonance of your truth that threatened their house of cards. They called you delusional while secretly journaling your every word. They laughed at your pain, but took notes in silence. And now, they're running around in your old blueprint, pretending they built the castle they watched you bleed in. It's funny, isn't it? They told everyone you were unstable, but now they're unstable without your content. They painted you as dangerous. Now they mimic your danger because mediocrity bores them. They couldn't stand you because you shattered their illusion of control. And now they cosplay as you because your truth had gravity. And they have nothing but helium, every whisper that tried to smother you, every gaslight that tried to blind you. All of it was a projection. They were unstable. They were scared. They saw your power before you did. So they did what cowards do. They tried to make you doubt it. And when that failed, they copied it. Let that sink in. The same people who set fires in your mind now sell candles made from the wax of your old breakdowns. The same ones who said, "You're doing too much," now capitalize on that very aesthetic. They gaslit you. Yes, but your survival made you magnetic. Your clarity made you inevitable. And now they want to be what they tried to break. Because you won, not by revenge, not by validation, but by enduring, by staying sane in a room full of liars wearing empathy like a costume, by not turning off your light when they said it was too bright, by bleeding louder when they said to suffer in silence, by resurrecting yourself every single time they tried to erase you. Now they're left with no playbook, except the one they stole from your discarded journals. And that should tell you everything. You weren't wrong. You weren't dramatic. You weren't too much. You were a threat in a system built on silence and obedience. And now your very existence is a copyright infringement lawsuit waiting to happen. So let them copy. Let them imitate. Let them spit watered-down versions of the truth you bled to discover. You're not mad. You're not bitter. You're not even surprised, because at this point, you realize something much darker. They never had a self to begin with. They were just mirrors held up to whoever shined the brightest. And baby, in a world full of photocopies, you were the original manuscript they tried to burn. So keep rising, keep speaking, keep being too much. Because while they keep rehearsing your old lines, you're already 10 scripts ahead. They studied your trauma, they monetized your healing, they weaponized your silence, and still, they couldn't kill the one thing that terrifies them most. You remembered who the fuck you are, and now they copy. Because they can't compete. Ah. You hear that static? That's the signal breaking through the simulation. And guess who's the glitch? You. They wanted you confused. They needed you fragmented. Because a fractured version of you was easier to manage, easier to control, easier to explain away when your presence started breaking their carefully curated lies. But what they never accounted for was integration, that all the pain, the paranoia, the whispers would one day synchronize, and when it did, oh sweetheart, it stopped being healing. It became strategy. Because when you realized they weren't gaslighting you out of misunderstanding, but out of fear, it all clicked. They saw you walking through a world they couldn't survive without the script. You walked through fire barefoot, and they screamed from the steam. You called out the rituals, the manipulations, the emotional acrobatics, and they panicked. Not because you were wrong, but because you were spot on, and they weren't ready to be seen without the mask. And now, the same ones who silenced your voice can't launch a single piece of content without mimicking your tone. They used to mock your cadence. Now it's embedded in their brand strategy. They screenshot your old crazy posts, then repackage the philosophy as wisdom for their curated audience. They dragged you behind closed doors. Now they steal from you publicly. They didn't just gaslight you. They turned your nervous breakdown into aesthetic inspiration. They built brands off the skeletons of your darkest nights. But they can't replicate the soul you stitched together in silence. Because here's the twist. They studied your shadow, but they'll never understand your source. They mimic the chaos. They remix the rebellion. But they don't have the nerve to bleed in public like you did. They weren't there when you screamed into the void and got no applause. They didn't survive the nights you had to parent your inner child while your reality collapsed. They didn't hold your shaking hands at 3 a.m. wondering if you were insane, or just the only sane one in a world of liars. But you know what really eats them alive? You never became them. They tried so hard to break you down, so you'd be forced to join the performance, to smile when hurting, to play dumb when knowing, to agree when you saw through the whole fucking act. But you sat through it and chose truth over acceptance. You could have gone dark. You could have burned every bridge, posted the screenshots, aired it all out. But instead, you let the silence simmer. You let your elevation answer. And now, they're left stealing shadows of a truth they once swore would ruin you. They don't post like that because they believe in it. They post like that because you made it popular. Because your authenticity generated more electricity than their entire fake ecosystem combined. You are the reference, the source code, the unspoken standard they now scramble to live up to in public, while still praying you never show up and outshine them. Again, you were never delusional. You were just unprofitable when you refused to be silent. But the moment you transmuted pain into poetry, the moment you built art from agony, the moment you held your scars in the light, and refused to flinch. You became the one thing they can't stand. Uncancelable. Because you're not a brand. You're a broadcast, a frequency too raw, too pure, too dangerous to be controlled. And now they're stuck in a loop, reposting fragments of your fire, trying to generate the same quake you create just by walking into a room. So no, don't lower your voice. Don't make peace for comfort. Don't water down your magic just because it's being market tested. You don't owe them closure. You don't owe them calm. You don't owe them the formula. Let them chase the echo. You already moved into the next dimension. And the scariest part for them? You're still just warming up. Oh, you thought they were done? Nah. Now comes the part where they try to become you. Because when copying you in secret doesn't satisfy the hunger, when parroting your words no longer hits the same, when your old fire has become their only light, they don't stop. They evolve the mimicry. They start full-on cosplay. Suddenly they're wearing your pain like performance art. Suddenly they're the ones raising awareness. Suddenly they were always the misfit, the black sheep, the outcast, the ones no one believed. But you remember who told you to let it go, who said, don't make a scene, who watched you unravel in real time and offered applause for your silence. Now they host panels on authenticity. Now they write captions that drip with performative empathy, while the source of their enlightenment still limps away from the wounds they helped create. Because what they want, what they truly, desperately want, is your depth. Not just the style, not just the tone, not just the visual impact or the viral phrasing. They want the soul that you bled for, the wisdom you mined from your own suffering, the radiance born from nights you didn't even know if you'd wake up. But here's the truth they can't replicate. You didn't read this in a book. You didn't binge it on some podcast. You survived it. You drowned in it. And then you resurrected yourself, without applause, without backup, without a safety net, without them. You forged it in silence, and that silence, it was sacred. It was your hell. And now it's your halo. They wear your light like a rented suit, but their hands still tremble under pressure. They quote your pain like poetry. But it doesn't sting the same coming from someone who's never been branded by betrayal. They mimic your healing arc, but skip the parts where you nearly lost your mind. They want the shine, but not the shadow. They want the crown, but not the crucifixion. They want to skip the burn and still claim the phoenix feathers. But the resurrection isn't for tourists. And you didn't visit the underworld. You lived there. You set up camp. You memorized the echo of every breakdown. You bled truth into places most people pretend don't exist. And then, only then, you climbed out. So now, when they start raising awareness, you raise a brow, because the only thing they're truly aware of is how much power you hold when you speak. They used to say, "You think you're better than us." Now they're obsessed with becoming exactly what they used to fear. They plagiarized your essence, but essence isn't in the sentence. It's in the delivery. It's in the scars between the syllables. It's in the vibration of a survivor's voice who speaks not from theory but from war. And don't get it twisted. You're not mad. You're not bitter. You don't need credit. But they do, because while you built something eternal from pain, they built a brand from theft. And brands crumble, especially when the original returns. You are not their competition. You are their consequence. You are not just the prototype. You are the end game, and they know it. That's why they watch, why they lurk, why they monitor every post, every shift in tone, every move, Because no matter how much they copy, there's one thing they will never be able to do. Be you in real time. Because you're not a moment. You're not a wave. You're not a phase or a trend. You are the blueprint of becoming. A living archive of everything they tried to suppress. Now weaponized as truth. Now echoed in the minds of thousands who recognize you, even when they've never met you. Because your frequency, it's encoded in pain, and only the broken can hear it clearly. So let them chase your ghost. Let them rehearse your script. Let them profit off your past. You've already moved into your next form, unbothered, unmatched, unapologetic. Because the same ones who gaslit you, who said, "You're making this up," who made you doubt your mind, your memory, your reality, now they scroll through your old posts looking for instructions. They didn't just lose you, they lost the privilege of ever understanding you again. Now they fear you and pretend it's respect. Oh yeah, we're here now. You know the look. The forced smile stretched too thin, the sudden praise laced with old resentment. They'll say, "I always knew you were different." But that ain't admiration, that's fear, dressed in diplomacy. Because the same people who once called you unstable, difficult, delusional, too intense, too much, too sensitive, are now rewriting history to make it seem like they supported the prophecy you scared into existence. They fear you now. But they can't admit it, so they call it growth. They call it mutual respect. They say, "You've really changed." No. You evolved beyond their reach. You stopped seeking their approval and they started fearing your presence. Because now, you don't argue. You don't explain. You don't engage. You just exist. And that's terrifying to someone who used to thrive off your confusion. They know if they cross a line now, you won't raise your voice. You'll raise the atmosphere. You'll shift the entire energy of a room with a glance, with your silence, with your aura that now reads, "I'm not arguing anymore. I'm building empires out of old betrayals." That's why they treat you nice now. But their body tenses, their tone cracks, their compliments are loaded like they're still trying to contain you with kindness. Because they know. You remember, not with bitterness, not with obsession, but with clarity. You remember who laughed when you cried, who stayed quiet when you screamed for help, who changed the subject when you finally told the truth. You remember the eyes that watched your breakdown with a smirk. The ones who said it's not that serious when you were battling for your effing sanity. And now they claim they were rooting for you. Now they post your quotes. Now they ask you for advice on how you did it. They act like your evolution was expected. But behind closed doors, they're still asking each other, how the fuck is this person still standing? How are they thriving? How did they survive that? How did they go from cancellation to coronation? How are they booked, blessed and unbothered after everything we threw at them? Because they thought your healing would come with a leash. That you'd return softer, more palatable, more grateful to be accepted back. But instead, you came back with your own audience, your own language, your own storm, and no more room for their validation. You became what they fear most, an original with receipts. So they fear you, yes, but they hide it under flattery. They fear your clarity, but disguise it as finally understanding you. They fear your power, but praise your glow-up. They fear your boundary, but call it growth. Because what else can they do? Apologize? Take accountability? Admit they were wrong? No. That would require a spine, and you can't clone those. You can mimic looks, mimic posts, mimic tone. But spine, you have to build that. And they never did. So now they orbit your space, hoping to siphon the light without being burned by your truth. But here's the twist. You don't need to burn them. Your mere existence now exposes them. You don't retaliate, you radiate. You don't drag, you dismantle with stillness. And nothing haunts a faker more than someone who sees everything and still chooses silence. But don't be fooled. This respect they offer now, it's a mask, a last-ditch effort to stay in the same orbit as the sun they once tried to eclipse. Because the moment they saw your power was no longer available for manipulation, they panicked. You broke the contract. You stopped bleeding for their comfort. You stopped explaining your intuition. You stopped offering discounts on your worth. And now, the gaslight is out. The mimicry is crumbling, and the respect, it's fear wearing a name tag, so smile. Not because they accept you now, but because you never needed it. And deep down, they know that too. Let's get surgical. See, they thought you were a phase, a mood, a vibe, some aesthetic anomaly they could screenshot, crop, and commodify. They never realized you were a curriculum, a syllabus written in scars, a fucking masterclass in becoming. Coded in silence, delivered through suffering, and tested in chaos. But here's where it gets wicked. They tried to skip the class and steal the answers, but you were the exam. And every time they faked the insight, every time they tried to plagiarize the pain, they flunked. Spiritually, because they wanted the glow, but not the graveyard. They wanted the followers, but not the nights you couldn't breathe. They wanted the enlightenment, without the annihilation it required. And baby, you didn't take shortcuts. You walked through fire in slow motion, no filters, no mentors, no lifelines, just your heartbeat, your rage, and a voice in your gut saying, this isn't where it ends. So while they were busy asking, where did she learn that? How did he flip that pain into power? What's their secret? You were somewhere between collapse and resurrection, building a blueprint no algorithm could decode. You were designing real intelligence, not artificial inspiration. You were becoming something you couldn't Google. You were evolving in a way that no TED Talk could simulate. Because you weren't healing to be liked. You were reconstructing your entire operating system to make sure nobody could ever gaslight you again. You were learning how to read a room before anyone opened their mouths, how to sense a lie in the pause before the smile, how to never again explain your frequency to someone who only speaks survival. And now, you don't teach what you know, you transmit it. It's in the way you stand, the way you move, the way your presence makes liars stutter and manipulators adjust their masks mid-conversation. Because deep down, they know they failed the test. You gave them years to catch up. You softened your brilliance. You translated your soul into digestible bits. You slowed down your speech, dimmed your light, gave them grace while they handed you gasoline. And still, they missed it. Because you weren't just talking, you were teaching. And they didn't recognize the lesson until you were gone. Now they watch from behind fake accounts, trying to study you in real time, trying to reverse engineer your frequency like it's code, trying to mimic your rhythm without understanding your rituals. But you were never built in the spotlight. You were built in the breakdown. You were forged in the furnace, not the fucking feed. And that's what makes you uncopyable. They can take your words, they can steal your style, they can echo your energy, but they'll always miss the essence, because they skipped the initiation. And that initiation, it wasn't cute. It was raw, violent, lonely, sanity-breaking, and divine. You weren't just influential. You were a transformational vortex, a real-time exorcism of generational dysfunction, a walking contradiction that made people question their programming. You were the hidden curriculum the entire system wasn't ready for. You shook timelines. You exposed patterns. You shattered bloodline illusions. And now they want the answers. But they don't have the guts to take the test. So let them keep watching. Let them keep rehearsing your delivery. Let them keep tweaking the formula. They'll never get it right, because you're not the formula. You're the anomaly, the bug in their code, the ghost in their machine. The final question they can't pass, because you weren't made to be understood. You were made to be survived, and they still haven't.